community is such a big part of where I grew up in my life. And the only way that you can build connections with each other is through a little bit of vulnerability. You cannot connect with another human being if you have your mask up and you have these borders, and which is one of the other readings that we've had in the past. If you have all these borders and these boundaries, it's very difficult to connect with people. And at the end of the day, and I think this is one of the things Aspen does so well, is we're all human beings. And we're all living our own human experience. And here we're able to really connect at that basic human level. So even if we don't agree on things, I understand it. I can see your humanity and you can see my humanity.
It is so good to be in Aspen with you.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
And it's been so good to be on this journey with you. We started it in October 2021, which was the first meeting of the Financial Leaders Fellows of our class. And we have grown to know each other and support each other through these years as we've grown as women, as leaders, as mothers. So it's been really great to be on this journey with you.
It's hard to believe, like now that you remind me that that's when we started. I don't know if you remember, but the Financial Leaders Fellowship class of that particular year, we had a few fellows that couldn't join us because they just couldn't get visas and there was still COVID restrictions. It's really hard to believe how far we've come. And now we're in Aspen for the Resnick Action Forum and it feels completely different, but it does feel like it's been a journey.
It has been a journey. Like when we sat down to talk, I noticed there was a book, Private Woman, Public Stage, which is maybe the title of our biography, right?
I was like, I didn't know your book is already on the shelf.
Our book is here. As someone who has been a very public woman, how have you balanced being both public, the scrutiny of leadership, while also maintaining who you are as a person, particularly your private life? Can you have a private life as a public woman? Is that even possible?
Yeah, there's lots of great questions in there. And I'm just finishing my posting. I'm just finishing my journey that how you've known me professionally for the last 5 years is as Canada's ambassador to the European Union. And so
the first female
woman.
First woman
to have that job.
That's very important to know.
Yeah, that's really sweet of you. Yeah. Great, amazing colleagues before, but it was a real honor to be appointed. And it is a lot of constant scrutiny in terms of the public mission. And I think also too, because we've lived through, for me, it was COVID and a vaccine acquisition supply chain crisis into the Ukraine war, the second invasion of Russia into Ukraine in 2022, and the last 3 years of working with Ukraine on their economic, military, and social resilience. And now my kind of life's work, which has been in trade policy, and we've talked, a little bit about that, but to now see fragmentation, tariff-induced fragmentation, that's been such a journey. So that's just the professional context, and then you inject yourself into it, right? And I think for me, focusing on the mission, the purpose, which is serving Canadian citizens, hopefully advancing multilateralism and democracy in the world. When you have that as your North Star, you can power through a lot. And just to connect it finally maybe to the personal piece, it's like you can sublimate quite a lot of your own personal needs because there's such an important mission and because there's a team relying on you. And I would say that Aspen and the journey that I had here was completely critical to making sure that I was also practicing reflection, self-care, understanding the transitions I was going through, and then connecting that also to really trying to focus on my family at the same time, feeling like it was okay to have different buckets, because there's a pressure to kind of be on all the time. But again, I would just say that having met you in particular, we've, whenever I needed someone to just say like, am I crazy? Or is this real? Or, am I on the right track? Having someone that always tells you the truth is so powerful. And I feel like that's what we built in our fellowship. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. When I came to Aspen in October 2021, I had a mask, right? In our readings, we talk about the mask.
Talked about that, yeah.
I had a very well-defined, beautiful designer, because I like designer mask, but it was a
So
mask.
tell us about that social mask, like, or how that felt now that you're looking back on it.
You know, I think when you occupy the identity that I occupy, which is an African-American woman, where you often find yourself in spaces where you are the only one, you have to do a number of calculations to determine how much of yourself you can actually bring into the space. Right. Sometimes there are spaces in which you being fully yourself is not appreciated. And so you have to calculate. There's 1,000 calculations you do in your head when you enter a room that, frankly, other people don't have to do, but we do. And so coming here, I had my calculations set. It also happened to be at a particularly interesting time in my personal life as I was going through this big transition, a divorce after being married for quite a bit of time. So I came into Aspen. I actually drove from Denver because I wanted some time to think. So I drove into Aspen with this very clear mask and this very clear idea of what I thought it was going to be, the fellowship.
Can you unpack that just for a second?
Yeah.
Like, what did you, because it can be intimidating to come into this space, especially for me as not an American. It feels like there's a big American.
Why not American?
Well, because it feels like there's this very deep American legacy.
Yeah.
And it's something that I very much admire about the United States. Like when you guys do something,
I mean, we do it.
you do it. You do it. Like we might have like a festival with some pop-up tents. You'd have to hike in.
Canadian.
Yeah, so Canadian. There'd be a campfire.
Yeah.
And you come to this and it's the Aspen Institute.
Yeah.
So maybe unpack what you thought, because I was certainly intimidated the first time I was coming in.
I wouldn't even say I was intimidated because I've had, as been noted, every fellowship. So
Fellowship queen.
Fellowship queen. I wouldn't say it was necessarily intimidation. It was, here's who I think these people are going to be. It's particularly finance. We're finance leaders fellowship, right? And coming from venture, which is where I come from, venture and entrepreneurship as an operator investor, there is a certain way of being in the space, right? So
Like in that ecosystem.
in the ecosystem
of finance.
there's a certain person, like a prototype of a personality. And so I was prepared to come in and be confronted with that person, right? And so coming in, the first day, you're meeting everyone, and, we're all finance people, so we all have our mask on, we all have our bios like right in front and ready to like read through. And that first day, I mean, we were bioing it out, and people were networky, and
It's true.
You know how we are, right? And by the end of the week, I think it was, we had a campfire, right? And by the end of the week, it was just something just kind of broke. I don't know. Somehow our mask got broken.
Cracked.
Cracked.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to Ranji and Chris, the leaders of our fellowship and founders of our fellowship, for really orchestrating that, because I would have never thought with that group of people that would have happened. And now, 4 years later, it's some of my closest
Like
friends.
family.
Like family.
That's incredible.
Our kids know each other. It's, we've been to each other's houses, we've stayed. But I would have never thought that October 2021. Would have never thought we would have ended up here.
And I think you hit on something really important, which was we had gurus, we had moderators,
Yes.
right? Chris and Ranji for us, for our fellowship.
Yeah.
And I don't think we knew, I certainly didn't know going in, that there is an Aspen process.
Yes.
And, being the kind of nerd intellectual that I am, I was like, I've done all the readings and I made all my notes and I'm,
Great notes,
kind of ready.
too.
Great,
You had, like, really nice notes.
Great notes. I mean, I think we bonded initially over, I think, there was some different colored pens or something.
Yes, I
but
loved it.
You looked very organized. And I remember thinking like, okay, like I'm intellectually prepared.
Yeah.
But I wasn't prepared for the emotional piece of it. And so the readings that you do here in Aspen are a vehicle into conversation. And I would say the thing that I always admired about you, as much as you're talking about the social mass piece, Kathryn, number one, you have a really clear point of view, And you articulate it in such a compassionate but also very clear way. And number two, I mean, I don't know if vulnerability isn't for me the right word, but you're willing to share your perspective, and your perspective is different. And you often highlight, hey, listen, I'm going to share some things that may be uncomfortable or that people may not have experienced in their own lives. How do you think you got, for me, it's the word that comes to mind for me is brave. I'm not sure if that's how you always feel, but I think one of the ways we were able to crack through things is because people were ready to share, and you were one of those people who helped kind of crack the ice. I don't know if you remember that, some of those initial moments, and what advice you might have for preparing and entering into that space where, in order to get somewhere, you have to be open.
Thank you for that. It was really hard. I attribute a lot of it to my Midwestern roots, coming from Minnesota, where it's too cold to like care. You just say it, like you just kind of do it, right? And
you just share, yeah.
You just share.
Yeah.
Community is such a big part of where I grew up in my life. And the only way that you can build connections with each other is through a little bit of vulnerability. You cannot connect with another human being if you have your mask up and you have these borders, and which is one of the other readings that we've had in the past. If you have all these borders and these boundaries, it's very difficult to connect with people. And at the end of the day, and I think this is one of the things Aspen does so well, is we're all human beings, right? And we're all living our own human experience. And here we're able to really connect at that basic human level. So even if we don't agree on things, I understand it. I can see your humanity, and you can see my humanity. It's been so transformational for me, and being around like women leaders like yourself. You are so dynamic, while at the same time being like so cool. Like you are cool, and you don't.
I don't think of myself as cool, so
but you are though. I mean, yes, you're this, global leader, global expert in trade policy, but you're also fun. There's like this other layer of you, and I actually think that probably is why you're such a great leader. Is because you do have this other layer. There's this kindness from you. The way you direct conversations with kindness, especially coming from an industry where there's not a lot of kindness, and you're just very kind in your leadership. Very clearly a leader, very clearly you're brilliant, right? But you're also kind. And that has really had a big impact on me, and how I view my leadership and how I think of my leadership. You can be strong, you can be brilliant. You can also be a nice person too. They're not mutually exclusive things.
It's really interesting that you say that. And I think the women in our fellowship in particular brought that. And I really believe we then cracked open men taking off their social masks. Because
Definitely.
At the beginning of it, we had a lot of bros.
Lots of bros.
There was a lot of male energy in that
bros.
room. And we love them.
Yes.
And they are our brothers, right? And I think just to pick up on a couple pieces that you said, I think one really important thing in leadership is always to connect it down to who you're actually serving. Where's the human in all of this? Because it can get quite abstract and macro. And that's something I also felt you intuitively. You knew the communities that you were serving, but also that you had changed lives with your investments, but also your books. The latest one, help us.
Build the damn thing.
Build the damn thing, right? You're out there and you're always talking to people. So I'd say that human aspect to leadership is really important. The other thing that I think is really interesting, and we should all ask ourselves, another question that Aspen has allowed me to ask is, have I given this person time to crack open?
Oh, yeah.
Like part of it is the context. Are we even in a space where we can share a little bit of that humanity, that, like you said, that second level, like I'm a person, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm taking care of family members. There's a personal layer. Coffee breaks at any international meeting are actually the meeting, right?
Interesting.
Oh yeah, when you can
Is that where the things,
that's where the human connections start, and people, as you say, start saying like, oh, I can actually see you, and I can see what you're here to represent, and I can see your interests. How do you think you create those spaces, because I think you've really taken time since we finished our last class for your personal learning journey, for your personal professional transition. I just want to introduce the dimension of like understanding or stepping back from our lives and saying like, if something isn't working out, what are the conditions in which I could improve this relationship or transform it or let it go? Because you've kind of done all of those things.
It's hard to pause and say, is this what I want?
Exactly.
And I think particularly when you are a woman, right? And you're a woman of color, and depending on our communities that we come from, there's certain things that are placed upon us in terms of how we're supposed to act and how we're supposed to move, the responsibilities we're supposed to take on, and sometimes we don't get asked if we even want them, right?
Sometimes we don't even get asked. A lot of times we don't get asked, do we?
Not at all, right? Not at all. So it is. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily brave. I would say I'm courageous. So I have a lot of courage, and that comes from my family and the women who mentored me, who loved me, who raised me, just having the courage to do things that maybe other people don't quite get, but you see the vision. And so it takes a lot of courage to say, you know what, I don't think I want to do what you want me to do.
Sorry, I think you can say that again.
I don't want to do what you want me to do. I might have my own ideas of what I want to do. And what I thought I wanted to do maybe 10 years ago may not be what I want to do today. And it is okay for me to say, I'm going to do something different. And then this idea of pausing and stopping. Even for just a little brief period, I think so many of us are so afraid to do that. Because what happens if we pause and people forget about us? What happens if we pause and we find out that maybe it's a different direction we should go in and we don't even exactly know what that direction is? It is scary to pause.
It is scary to pause.
But
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because I think as leaders, we're focused on a lot of time on the journey or the destination, and that pause, like rejuvenation, rebuilding your health, resilience. I do feel like we're having new conversations about that in the last 4 or 5 years. Also on mental health.
Because you're obviously leading like major policy for a nation, right?
Yeah.
How do you pause? Can you pause?
It's one word. It's team. Yeah. It's team, and really, I feel that I've been blessed in terms of I inherited a team. You do inherit teams as a leader, and my number two, who can step in if I'm, for example, if I take time with my family, has a very different perspective on things. I had a wonderful number two named Rob Sinclair, and then I was able to recruit, because in our foreign service lives, everyone's always moving around. That's the other. Change is constant. It can be, you just have to be okay with the level of change, or you wouldn't put yourself up for the foreign service. But my second number two, I was able to go out and recruit him, Nicholas Brousseau. And I was looking for someone, in Canada, we're bilingual, we speak English and French. I'm a native English speaker. I knew being in Europe, where language and culture is so important, that I wanted to bring the strengths of Canada's Francophone community also to our work. And also there can surface different perspectives and priorities in that cultural grounding. And so I wanted a Francophone. I'm a trade person, and I wanted more of a foreign policy person, and ideally a man. I always love that, sort of yin and yang. I just got really fortunate. And so trusting your team, being able to take some of what you're working on and say, now you've got it. And for him to feel exactly the same way. Yeah. I would not have survived the last 5 years without having an amazing team, also who feel that they can tell you where things are, maybe going off track or things that we're missing because what we're doing is so complicated. But knowing that someone on your team really has your back.
That's so important.
Oh my gosh. It just, and if you don't have it, I think it's really important to ask yourself, okay, is this because I haven't taken the time to build that relationship? Or like, is there alignment?
Yeah.
And if there isn't, I would just say to leaders, your health, we sublimate. Again, we sort of, we're like, okay, we're on this journey, and usually we're the kind of people for whom success is important, achievements, the badges,
all
the queen of fellowships.
All the fellowships.
Check.
Check.
Yeah. And I think for me, the real transition in my leadership over the last 5 years that Aspen brought me is more consciously focusing on the human. So I think like as a kind person, again, as a mom, as someone who's always had great best friends, I know that intuitively I really like working with people, but I don't think I had brought in a practice of thinking about the humanity and the kind of heart connections. I was more of a brain connection person. So that's been a transition.
A really good point that I think sometimes as leaders, we forget having good friends.
Oh, yeah.
And the friends that knew you before you were a leader, right?
Interesting.
And how important it is to maintain those connections. I was talking to one of my best friends. We've known each other since 4th grade.
I love that.
We know entire families. I mean, there's stories, there's novels that could be written about us.
What's her name?
Her name is Anne.
Anne.
Anne Lenz. And the great thing about having old friends, and I know you have really great old friends too, is that while you are this public person, right? You're on TV, you're doing all these things, you're writing books, you're like leading nations. I mean, you're doing all sorts of stuff. They allow you to be who you are at your core, right? They know who you are. You to them are Ailish. My friend Ailish since 3rd grade, we had sleepovers, right? And to have that space of people where you can just go and just be you. You don't have to lead with them. They don't care about any of that.
They care about you.
They care about you, right? That you get to just be you, your full self.
Yeah.
And then how that rejuvenates you so that you can then go back and do what you have to do in the public. I think in many ways, Aspen has been like that for me at times where it's like, I can just be Kathryn. I don't have to be, leader. I don't have to be so careful about what I say. Well, someone writes a think piece about me. That's so crazy to read, but as you know, somebody writing pieces about who you are, which is still not maybe who you are. It's just this flat version, one-dimensional, whatever they read online or whatever they see on TV of you, but that's not you. To have a space or spaces where you can come and just be you and breathe. And it's like, okay, I don't have to put out a crisis today. I don't have to, manage a team necessarily today. I get to just be. I get to think. I get to think about what it is that I want. I get to think of a couple of steps ahead in terms of me personally. I'm not always reacting. Which is another great part, I think, of being in Aspen, of just taking a moment for a couple of days to not to have to react to anything.
Yeah.
And just having that space. And then there's also this fun part of it. And I feel like with leadership, we always talk about, the mechanics of leadership and sort of stresses, but we don't also talk about like the joy that can be found in it too. Because there is real joy in leading. I really feel like there is, particularly when you have built a team, right? When you have clear vision about who you are as a leader and what is it that you want to see, the impact that you can have in the people that you serve, right? That's when the magic happens. That's when the magic happens.
Yeah. And there is that joy, there is that spark. And I just bring it back to a couple of things that you said, which I think this is what's so magical about Aspen, is having the time to think about this stuff that maybe you sort of do intuitively. And then I get to learn, how you do that. I love that idea of like, okay, so who am I? Am I still projecting that in my leadership?
Yes.
Have I gone off course a little, or, do I need to come back to, and I really believe that, like, who you are as a person, who knows me, and I'll just surface it. I think part of that is like, who can I trust?
Yeah.
And who can I be vulnerable with? Because when you open up about your challenges, that's when, again, you can create, right? You talk about joy.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the creation piece. Yeah. But it's a chemistry, right? There's a real piece to it that all needs to come together. And if it's not working out, who do you call? Who do you call to say?
I mean, I had an incident.
Who do you Zoom?
It's not even an incident. It was during the beginning of this journey, and I was going in the middle of a divorce, and my son, who was very young at the time, was really having a challenge with it, which every child does, but he was really having a challenge. And we were in the middle of finishing fundraising Fund 1. And I had to say to my team, my chief of staff, and one of the partners in my fund, I have to go be a mom. So I need 3 days. I have to go.
I have to go be a mom right now.
I have to go be a mom right now. I can't.
There's no substitution.
There's no
number
one.
two.
I can't outsource this.
Yeah, no.
I can't delegate this.
That's right.
And I need 3 days. I need just a couple of days.
That's the time I need. Yep.
I just got to focus on him right now. And they were like, we got you. Go do that. We got you. And just to have a team that gave me the space to be human, because that's really what it was. I had a very human moment at that moment where it's like, I have to go prioritize my child right now. And it's really interesting, me doing that, reflecting, several years later, now my son has such buy-in into my work because he knows that if he needs me at any time,
so
mommy will stop. And it hasn't been anything since that moment, but he knows. So when I have to go away, as we often have to do, when we have to go away, we have to travel, we have to be in places where they're not, he knows that if there was ever a time where there was a choice, that mommy would choose him. And as a result, he has been so generous with me. He has been very generous with me.
Oh, I love that.
In terms of sharing me with other people, because our children do share us. Right?
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that, because one of my mentors, Chief Perry Bellegarde, talks a lot about how, you're a leader, but you're not leading a community. You are in the community and our families. And it's a piece of our leadership that I hope we talk about more. Our families are so often a source of strength and renewal. And also just reminding you who you are. Like when I walk in the door, my daughter does not care. What's the title or who you've met Vivian. She's amazing. And Lachlan, our son. And you're just mom. And it grounds you, which I think is really important. I want to pick up on two things you said. The importance of having someone who saw that you were having that moment and said, go. Yeah. And for me, I will never forget being in the middle of a negotiation, and I was working with a male boss, a minister, and another very senior male deputy minister. So that's like the number one and number two of our entire system. And my minister's daughter was in a car accident. Oh. And he was totally shaken, and he was wondering what to do. And I will never forget it. There wasn't even a pause. And Richard Discerny, my deputy minister, who's a public servant and someone who's really inspired me in my career, he just looked and said, there is no substitute for being a dad. Yes. You go, we got this. And what I will say is I also noticed how that really bonded them together in future. And they were able to do, to my mind, some real breakthroughs, because that foundation of care, of trust. And so I think, I was really inspired by you kind of reminding us, it may feel like you're like, someone's taking time or they've got to go address a family issue. No, it's that will make them so much more effective.
It does.
Inside of a team, for sure. And then your point about Christian is just great. He is such a great kid. And the fact that you see his generosity as also being part of your kind of leadership success, I think that's really amazing.
I thank him.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to do this.
I love that.
And I think as leaders, whether you're a mom or a dad, I think it's really important to bring your children at least a little bit into the journey. One of the things I found really helpful is sharing a little bit about the work you do, and just bringing them to a couple of things have been really helpful, in the sense of, he knows when mommy's gone, it's not some black box that I'm going into. So he knows what I'm doing. If I'm going to do a speech, he knows what that means. And that allows him to then say, oh, okay, I know. And I know mommy's coming right back, and I know she works. And so it helps me to be more present. He enjoys it.
I love it.
Your family wants to be a part of your journey too. And I think it's such an honor to be a leader, right? It's such an honor that people want your opinions, respect your vision, respect your direction. That is an honor. And there's a joy in that. And I think as leaders, making sure our entire community is involved, our families, the people we serve, our colleagues, the people we work with, making sure everyone has this buy-in, I think that is the essence of good leadership. And that's something that I have been able to really grow as a part of being part of the Aspen Fellowships, the Global Leaders Network. I've been really able to grow and work on that aspect. And then just being in fellowship with people like yourself, who I look up to and who I respect so much, and the guidance and the opinions and the fun that we've had together.
Yes.
It's just meant the world to me. It really, really has. Your friendship has been one of the greatest joys, I think, of my life for the last past couple of years.
Oh, I feel exactly the same way. I feel exactly the same way. And I think you give me permission to use words that I don't normally use in my leadership vocabulary. Joy, fun, and I think the third one that comes to mind is adventure.
Yes.
We've had some really great road trips. We've had some we're like, oh yeah, there's this fellowship and it's really important, but let's like take a day to get into it.
Right.
Like let's take a day to journey
Yeah.
into that. And of course, I tell my wonderful husband Dan how important it is that I'm like, oh, I'm meeting Kat for kind of a pre-event
pre-fellowship.
convening.
Yes.
And of course, he loves you too, which has been great to kind of get to see each other in your hometown.
Yeah.
Bringing you to Brussels to see what we're up to has been really great. And
Chicago
I think
to Brussels and Brussels to Chicago.
it's a thing. It's been really, really fun. And so I want to thank you for bringing that, not just vocabulary, but like the practice. And I feel that that's one of your strengths. Maybe we could end our discussion with that. Yeah. How do you practice? What, in terms of a daily practice or a monthly practice, what would you say with intention you want to practice in your leadership journey that makes your leadership journey authentic to you?
I think just in general, as making sure that you understand what your intention actually is.
Understand what your intention actually is.
And that
What is it
sounds really simple, but I think sometimes as leaders, we get pulled in different directions, and the intention that we may state may not actually be our intention. And so really understanding what is our intention, like what is it that I really want to do? What positive action do I want to see really happen in this world? And is my leadership or my actions, is my life in line with that? And I think for a leader, that is how you stay in it, right? Is and asking yourself that on a daily basis. It's like,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
That's great.
I love you like I do.
I love you too.
Yeah.